be one of the phone's selling points. Like up until you get to 10 times zoom, so 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 8 times, it is at least as good as the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And then after 10 times it falls behind. Pro Plus is a bokeh machine. Or in other words, photos have A, incredibly crisp foregrounds, and B, incredibly blurred backgrounds. For as long as I can remember, this is the closest a phone has gotten to taking photos that look DSLR-like. Except, unlike DSLRs, this has possibly the most aggressive HDR algorithm I've ever seen, if you're into that. It basically just means you're quite unlikely to end up with overexposed skies, even if it can feel a little in-image in a good way. It's even got night mode portraits, which uses the flash while capturing to keep faces bright. But the signature one here is called Bio. Literally can't miss it. And the idea of this portrait mode is that it recreates that lens. Plus, you can also refocus shots after you've taken them, which is always the way they brand it is as making the glass completely invisible, and therefore apparently creating if you point this phone at a bright light source. You can tell that the lens isn't fighting as much with the light by how there's much less glow, or ghosting. First to have a camera that could not just physically move, but also rotate to counteract your hand movements. And in some situations you could really tell, but equally in a lot of them its footage didn't look distinctly different to, say, a Samsung, which already has good stabilization. The implication of this is that in just about every single scenario, you can tell. I did do a couple of tests. This is a cinematic shot taken on both, and while they do both look good, you can feel the effect of the gimbal. This is me running. The Vivo is much more focused on the subject, although I could see actually probably the brightest nighttime photos I've ever seen on a phone. Or any camera for that matter. To some extent it is stylistic, like I don't think the best night mode shots are of night mode. And while some of them are just kind of flat filters, there are a few that make quite dramatic changes to the colour profile. And I did eventually find a night where a few stars popped. Not 100% like-for-like comparison, but for context, this is a tripod-enhanced night mode on the S21 Ultra, so while I was at it I took another one, and yeah, your ultra-wide camera is now the one to have the gimbal stabilization system on it. It can hold itself still for like 10 seconds at a time, meaning that this is also the brightest ultra-wide night mode, panoramas. Pretty self-explanatory. It combines night mode with the ability to pan around and capture an entire cityscape. Admittedly, this is Nottingham, UK we're talking about, so it's no Hong Kong, but it looks